Hello, this is a little add-on to our trim installation video, showing how we prepared the spots that will eventually become penetrations for venting. We'll get into the details about that in a later episode.
Some of the audio in these clips is so windy that you can hardly hear what I'm saying, but basically I'm just affixing a square piece of aluminum flashing to the side of the house with some short screws, and then lining the perimeter with tuck tape. This will create the backing for the installation.
So just like all the other trim, I'm going to pre-drill holes for the screws to pass through so that the screw head can pull the trim piece into the house.
This video assumes you've already seen the main trim episode. If you haven't, you can get caught up by clicking on it here.
One extra thing I'm going to do for these is just ream out the first little bit of the hole to help the screw head sink in a bit. The other detail that we're taking into account for this one and a couple other spots is that, again, because we're going into basically just the sheathing in most cases, on this edge I might get the stud that's behind here, but out here it's just sheathing. So there's no sense in driving a massive screw through and having a huge pointy end sticking into the house. So I'm using a shorter screw, and you can see if I sink it in just a little bit, that is a bit more than half an inch, but it's about a half an inch that's going to bite into the sheathing, and that's all I need. And then for the top and bottom piece, because they're a bit thicker, there's more distance between the face of it and the back, I'm going to use a screw that's half an inch longer than this, so that in all cases it's just biting what it needs and there's no excess screw poking through. The other thing is that we don't need to worry about shimming it because it's basically against a flat surface, so it makes it a bit easier. So I'm just holding these to get the position at the bottom one. Just for a rough, mostly for side to side, but also for a rough height. The height's off a bit, it's not going to mess anything up, but I want it to be pretty close to center. So the reason I reamed out the holes a little bit at the top to help the screws to sink in is that with only a half inch of plywood for the threads to bite into, if I didn't have a pilot hole or I had a very small pilot hole, if the force of the wood resisting the screw head from sinking in was stronger than the plywood's ability to hold the threads, I just tear the threads before the screw head would sink in, if that makes sense. But basically I made it easy for the head to sink in so that I maintain grip on with the threads of the screw in the sheathing and sink the head in, because we're going to be covering that up for the finish. I just put the sides on the same way, and that's that for now. And we'll drill or cut out some kind of hole to put the grill for the vent in later when we get to it. But it's in place now, so we can put the siding around it and move on.
If you want to see some of our previous videos, click on the preview tiles, and subscribe if you want to follow our progress.